English Leap Podcast.
From Speak English with Class.
Hey there, English learners. Welcome back to the English Leap podcast, your favorite place to improve your English while talking about real-life topics that actually matter.
That's right. I'm Evan.
And I'm Erin. Today, we're talking about something I know a lot of you will relate to. Being ambitious, but lazy.
Ah, that magic combination. You want success, but when it's time to actually do the work, suddenly your bed is the most comfortable place on earth.
Or you open YouTube for inspiration, and next thing you know, you've watched 5 videos on how to be productive, but haven't actually done anything.
Oh, that's painfully accurate. But here's the good news. You're not alone. And today, we're going to break down exactly why this happens and how you can actually overcome it.
All right, let's start with a question for everyone listening. Think about your biggest goal right now. Maybe you want to start a business, learn a new language, or finally get in shape. You can picture the dream perfectly, right?
Mm-hmm. You can see yourself as that future version of you. Successful, confident, totally in control. But then, reality hits.
And instead of taking action, you suddenly remember you need to check your messages, or clean your desk, or, worst of all, make a detailed plan before you even start.
Yep, and that's where the problem begins. We get so focused on planning, preparing, and thinking about our goals that we never actually start.
Mm-hmm. And when we do start, we quickly feel overwhelmed and stop. It's like standing at the bottom of a mountain, looking up and thinking, "Oh no, that's way too high. Maybe I'll climb tomorrow."
Exactly. So, what do? That's what we're breaking down today. How to work with your laziness instead of against it, so you can actually start achieving your goals.
Oh, before we dive in, don't forget we've got a free PDF for this episode.
It's more than just a summary. We've added a comprehension exercise and grammar practice to help you improve your English too.
So, you'll boost both your productivity and your English skills. Grab it from the link in the description.
Okay, let's talk about the science behind this. Why does this even happen? Why do ambitious people struggle with laziness?
It's actually simple. Our brains love big dreams, but they hate big effort. When something feels too overwhelming, our natural instinct is to avoid it.
Right? It's like your brain sees all the steps you need to take and just shuts down.
Think about it like this. Imagine you have to run a marathon. 42 kilometers. If I told you to start right now, no training, no warm-up, just go, how would you feel?
Probably like dying after 100 meters.
Exactly. That's how big goals feel. You see the huge distance between where you are and where you want to be, and it feels impossible. So, what do? You stay in bed and scroll TikTok instead.
So the first thing we need to do is stop thinking about the entire marathon and just focus on the first step.
Exactly. So instead of writing long to-do lists, let's try something different. Something that actually makes you start instead of just planning.
Okay, I'm listening. What's the trick?
Instead of listing out a million things you have to do, write about your day as if it already happened.
Wait, you mean pretend I've already done everything?
Exactly. Instead of saying, "I need to study today," write, "I sat down, focused, and studied for an hour. I even had time to take a break and felt great afterward."
Oh, I see what you're doing. So instead of a stressful to-do list, I'm creating a vision of success. It feels like I've already done it.
Yep. Your brain sees it as possible instead of overwhelming. When you describe your day in past tense, it tricks your mind into thinking the hard part is already over, making it easier to follow through.
That actually makes so much sense. When I write a normal to-do list, it just reminds me of everything I haven't done yet. But if I write it in past tense, my brain already believes I've accomplished something.
Exactly. And the best part? No pressure, no overwhelm, just an easy mental shift that makes productivity feel effortless.
Okay, let's try this. Normally, I'd write, go to the gym, study for 2 hours, clean my apartment, finish my work project. But that already looks exhausting.
Right. So instead, write, I went to the gym for 30 minutes and felt refreshed afterward. Then I studied for 2 hours, and it was easier than I expected. I even had time to clean up and finish my work project before dinner, so I felt super accomplished.
Oh, that sounds way less stressful. It actually makes me want to do it because it feels doable instead of overwhelming.
That's the power of shifting your mindset. Instead of a rigid to-do list, you're giving yourself a clear and encouraging vision of success.
Okay, but what if I write it down and still don't feel motivated?
Then make it even smaller. Instead of writing a whole day, just write one thing. I finished my work project today, and it felt great.
Ah, so if a full day feels overwhelming, just focus on one task and write it as if it's done?
Yes. And if you really need a boost, imagine yourself at the end of the day. Picture how relieved and accomplished you'll feel if you actually complete that one thing.
Okay, so now I know how to trick my brain into starting. But what if the task itself is just boring?
Ah, great question. That's where our next trick comes in. Making work feel like play so you actually want to do it.
All right, I love this trick because, let's be honest, if something feels boring, we avoid it. But if it's fun, we'll do it for hours.
Exactly. So instead of forcing yourself to work hard, you can trick your brain into wanting to do the task.
Okay, but how do we do that? I mean, work is work, right?
Not necessarily. Let's say you need to clean your room. What's something that makes it feel less boring?
Music! I blast my favorite songs and suddenly, I'm a cleaning superstar.
Exactly. Small changes make a huge difference. Music, a different location, even a cup of coffee. These small things can make boring tasks way more enjoyable.
All right, but what about things like studying? How do I make that fun?
Turn it into a game. Set a timer for 10 minutes and challenge yourself to finish as much as possible before the time runs out.
Ooh, like a speed round? That makes it way more exciting.
Yep. Or use rewards. If I finish this task, I get a coffee break.
I love it. So instead of forcing myself to work, I just make it fun.
Exactly. And that's what makes it easier to start and stay focused.
Okay, so now I'm starting and having fun. But what if I still don't finish things?
Ah, that's where our next trick comes in. The unfinished task effect. Let's get into it. So we've talked about how to start and how to make work fun. But let's talk about another problem. Starting something and then just never finishing it.
Oh, that's me. I'll begin something, feel productive for a while, then suddenly lose motivation and convince myself I'll finish it later. But later never happens.
And the worst part? That unfinished task stays in your mind, making you feel guilty every time you think about it.
Yes, I'll completely ignore something for weeks, but then the moment I try to relax, my brain suddenly reminds me about it.
That's called the Zeigarnik effect. It's a psychological trick our brains play on us. Once we start something, our minds don't like leaving it incomplete.
Oh, so that's why when I start a Netflix show, I have to finish it.
Exactly. And you can use that same trick to your advantage with work and productivity.
Okay, so how do we make the Zeigarnik effect work for us instead of against us?
Simple. Don't aim to finish, just aim to start. The moment you begin, your brain will naturally push you to keep going because it hates leaving things unfinished.
So instead of saying, I need to finish this report, I say, I'll write the first sentence?
Exactly. Once you write that first sentence, your brain won't want to leave it hanging. Before you know it, you've written a full paragraph, then a page, then you're done.
Oh, that's sneaky. It's way easier to convince myself to do one small thing than to commit to the whole task.
So now we know how to start, how to make work fun, and how to keep going once we've started. But what if we're spending time on the wrong things? What if we're just being busy instead of being productive?
Oh, I know this one. I have days where I'm super busy answering emails, organizing my files, checking notifications, but by the end of the day, I've done nothing important.
Exactly. And this is what happens when we don't prioritize correctly. Just because you're doing something doesn't mean you're making progress.
Right. It's like running on a treadmill. Lots of effort, but you're not actually going anywhere.
Perfect analogy. That's why we need the Eisenhower matrix. It helps us figure out what's actually important and what's just wasting time.
Okay, I've heard of this, but never used it. What's the deal?
It's a super simple way to organize tasks. Picture a box with 4 squares. Every task you have falls into one of these categories. Number 1. Important and urgent. Do it now. Like deadlines, emergencies, last-minute prep. Number 2. Important but not urgent. Schedule it. Like learning a skill, working out, long-term projects. Number 3. Urgent but not important. Delegate it. Like emails, small admin tasks, unnecessary meetings. Number 4. Neither important nor urgent. Delete it. Like mindless scrolling, binge-watching random videos.
Oof. So my 2-hour research session on productivity videos falls in category 4, huh?
Yep. If it's not actively helping you reach your goals, it's probably just a distraction.
Okay, so how do I use this? Just write down my tasks and categorize them.
Exactly. And once you see where your time is going, you'll realize a lot of what feels urgent can actually be ignored or scheduled for later.
That makes sense. So instead of feeling busy all the time, I focus on what actually moves me forward.
Exactly. Work smarter, not harder.
Okay. But what about people who get stuck because they're afraid of failing? Like, sometimes I avoid things just because I don't want to mess up.
Ah, that's a big one. That's where our next trick comes in. Learning to embrace being bad at something so you can actually improve.
All right, I'll be honest. I hate being bad at things. If I'm not naturally good at something, I tend to just not try.
Oh, I so get that. And that's exactly why perfectionism makes people more lazy. We don't start things because we're scared of failing.
Right? Like, I've always wanted to learn guitar, but after struggling with a few chords, I thought, yeah, maybe I'm just not meant to play.
And that's the trap. If you only do things you're already good at, you never grow. The problem isn't being bad at something, it's expecting to be great at it instantly.
So how do we fix that?
The best way to fight perfectionism is to choose something where you don't care about being good. Pick a hobby just for fun.
Oh, so I should start something I know I'll be bad at, on purpose?
Exactly. It can be anything. Bad dancing, baking chaotic cookies, drawing stick figures. Just something where you can enjoy the process instead of obsessing over results.
Wait, so I can just suck at something and have fun with it?
Yep. When you stop fearing failure, you start more things. And that's what leads to real progress.
Okay, that actually makes a lot of sense. But let's say I get over my fear and start something new. How do I make sure I stick to it and don't fall back into old habits?
Ah, great question. That's where our final trick comes in. Learning how to think like the person you want to become.
All right, I'm curious about this one. Are you telling me I need to time travel?
Not exactly. But instead of asking yourself, what should I do? Try asking, what would my future successful self do?
Okay, I like this. So if I want to be fit, instead of thinking, should I work out today? I ask, would a fit person skip their workout?
Exactly. Your brain starts adjusting to act like that future version of you, and the more you do it, the more it becomes a habit.
So how do I actually apply this?
Simple. First, write down your current daily routine, how you spend your time, your habits, everything.
Oh, so I create a snapshot of what my life looks like right now?
Yep. Then, Write down a future self routine. What your ideal, successful version of you would do in a day.
So if I want to be a productive person, my future self would wake up early, work with focus, and actually finish projects instead of getting distracted?
Exactly. Then, compare the two routines and find small habits you can start right now to bridge the gap.
Oh, that's brilliant. Instead of waiting for some magical, perfect moment to change, I just start acting like my future self today.
Yes. And once you start thinking like your future self, your decisions naturally align with your goals.
Wow, these tricks actually make sense. No more excuses.
Exactly. But before we wrap up, let's break down some of the key words and phrases we use today with our vocabulary expert, Charlotte.
Hey everyone, it's Charlotte, and I'm here to go over some important words and phrases from today's episode to make sure you understand them completely. Ambitious, meaning having a strong desire to succeed. Example, Sarah is very ambitious. She dreams of becoming a doctor one day. Overwhelmed, meaning feeling too much pressure or stress from something. Example, he felt overwhelmed with all the homework and projects due this week. Procrastination, meaning delay or postpone tasks. Example, Jake's procrastination made him finish his assignment at the last minute. Instinct, meaning a natural reaction or behavior. Example, when she heard a loud noise, her first instinct was to run. Accomplished, meaning successfully completed something. Example, after months of hard work, he finally accomplished his goal of running a marathon. Distractions, meaning things that take your attention away from what you should focus on. Example, social media is one of the biggest distractions when studying. Perspective, meaning a particular way of viewing or thinking about something. Example, from his perspective, the problem wasn't as serious as it seemed. Perfectionism, meaning the tendency to want everything to be perfect, often causing delays. Example, her perfectionism made her spend hours rewriting the same paragraph. Cliffhanger, meaning a story or episode ending in suspense, making you want to continue. Example, the movie ended with a cliffhanger, so now I can't wait for the sequel. Delegating, meaning assigning tasks to someone else. Example, a good leader knows the importance of delegating tasks to their team. Binge watching, meaning watching multiple episodes or videos in a row. Example, she spent the entire weekend binge watching her favorite TV series. And there you have it. These words and phrases will help you not only understand today's topic better, but also use them in real-life conversations. Try them out.
That was super helpful. Thanks, Charlotte.
Yeah, these words are so useful, especially when talking about productivity and habits.
All right, that officially wraps up today's episode. Don't forget to grab your free PDF in the description. It has all the key takeaways and exercises to help you apply these tricks.
And if you found this helpful, hit subscribe and share it with someone who needs a productivity boost.
See you next time on the English Leap podcast.
Your progress doesn't end here. To continue advancing your English skills, click on the next video or explore the additional videos we've thoughtfully selected for you.